Good morning. Good Friday morning, I should say. Early game crew. The weekend's almost here. You are Pete Rose, rounding third and heading for home. And the weekend is Ray Fosse sitting there at home plate. The only thing in your way is just running it over in the 1970 All-Star Game. But we're here. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And for only the second time since the new iteration of this show, we're all in the same room together. And we've been doing the show now for 2 weeks. This is great.
I don't disagree. I was actually trying to come up with a betting line when you were talking about Pete Rose. So sorry, my mind was trying to go on something sarcastic.
Was your parlay slip back there and you were busy filling that thing out?
You caught me. Yeah. Now that the live stream is on, they can see what I'm doing. So
when you start the sentence with "You are Pete Rose," there's a lot of ways that sentence can end.
And most of them bad. Some of them good.
You could say you're Pete Rose.
I could say you're the hit king.
Hit king. Yeah.
That you have more hits than any player in the history of Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. I could say that maybe you have a gambling problem bad enough to where the gambling hotline calls you and not you calling it. It can mean a lot of things.
Kind of like in the TV show Cheers, there was the character Norm, and so every time he walked in the bar, I was like, Norm. That'd be the same thing with Pete. Mm-hmm. You know, the gambling people would be calling him Pete. Pete. Hey.
Every time he walked into Caesar's Palace, Pete.
Exactly, I knew him really well.
Yeah, funny story. Yeah, I actually had my old boss Chase, who joined us on Monday, has a hilarious Pete Rose story where he was getting stuff signed. He's at a signing. And Pete Rose was signing a bunch of memorabilia, and he looks up, and there's a Maction game on. And he looks at Chase and goes, "What's the line for this game?" He was committed.
That's a moment that you want to. Yeah, that's a moment that you're like, "Oh, this is real, Bigfoot."
Wow.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
Confirming all of your priors almost immediately.
That's great.
Hilarious how that ended up working.
Wow, no kidding. And again, a little bit scary that kind of had that much of a hold on him, you know?
It did. Yeah, it absolutely did. That's why maybe one of the more complicated figures just in the history of sports in general.
There you go. Pete Rose. It's complicated.
It's complicated. A lot of things in life we can just put next to it. It's complicated. Mm. Pete Rose falling. I should have worn my Pete Rose jersey here today. I have one in the closet. I just didn't think of me making the analogy until I got in.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to take you.
You never do. You never know when the inspiration finds you. And for me, it was whenever I was sitting in here about 5 minutes ago that I wanted to open with that. But it's Friday. We'll have the best of SEC Media Days. There was a ton of clips. And that's kind of one of the parts about this, Preston, is that we have all of this press conference audio. SEC Media Days is just a content creation machine. We maybe only get to play and tell you about 20% as to what goes on. We're going to try to catch you up today a little bit.
Yeah, when you look at the clip sheets, again, I'll say it again, and maybe an early contender for winners for the week, Tyler Head.
100%. 100%.
Man was putting in major work this week. We have so much clips, so many clips, and I wouldn't be surprised if we could continue to use this because we're going into a little bit of a drought here for the next couple of days. So there's still going to be some ample opportunity to maybe get to some of this stuff. But if you put it at 20, I might even take the under on that. Because there's a lots of quotes here. Not all of it great because most of the coaches did not do awesome. Oh. But some people did.
I mean, some people did. And Eli Drinkitz, and I want to say something that I know is potentially blasphemous in this market and is not even going to be popular on my own program. Ooh, I got to prepare myself for this. The best press conference of the entire week, and I got to go to almost all of them, was indeed SEC coaching villain number 1 in Columbia, South Carolina, is the guy coaching in Columbia, Missouri. That's Eli Drinkitz. He was awesome yesterday. I'm sitting there that entire time, and I didn't hear one single cliche where I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I heard all the time with regularity, coaching cliche after coaching cliche. It's a position battle. Everybody in that room's got a chance to compete. Or, we play a really tough schedule. We're taking it one day at a time. I mean, and some coaches will Derek Jeter you to death, where you'll get a full 2-minute clip, and it says absolutely nothing in there. But not Eli Drinkitz. And there's a couple of clips that we'll play later on in the show, too, specifically things that made a little bit of news yesterday. But I'm sitting there in that big press conference room with those large goalposts sitting behind me, and I'm listening to Eli Drinkitz talk, and I'm like, do I kind of like this guy?
Ooh,
Punchable face and all.
tough spot.
He's a very interesting coach. And he started off, and we don't have the cut of it per se, but he started off the presser with, I'm not taking any Jeffrey Epstein questions.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any Lee Harvey Oswald questions, and just reeled off like a bunch of conspiracies after that. He's like, but I will talk about Missouri football. And I was like, this guy planned this. This guy was on the plane to Atlanta. He said, how do I want to open this up? This guy prepped for this press conference the way we prep for talk shows.
That is a man who is coming into his own, and he's deciding, you know what? I'm just going to be who I am. I'm not going to go up here and say what I'm supposed to say. I'm going to say what I want to say because I've won games. We have maybe a pretty good squad coming back this year. I'm feeling pretty confident. And here's the dilemma that I'm always faced with. I get up here on this microphone and I complain about coaches being boring, and I complain about the coaching cliches. But then sometimes when coaches say stupid things, I get on them for saying stupid things. And I need to figure out where I am with that, because I'm to the point now where I would rather you say something stupid than not say anything at all.
Or just say what you think. Like, say what you honestly think.
Even if honestly, and this is why I have the relationship I have with Gundy. Because we know Gundy's going to shoot from the hip 50-50. It may be something profound. It may be something very stupid. But at least we know we can appreciate. And maybe Eli's trying to go down that path of saying, hey, man, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Y'all know what it is. Let's move on from there.
Yeah, sometimes I'll sit there and I'll be like, you don't really believe that. Like, they'll say something, especially when they're asked about, like, the college football playoff. It's like, you don't really believe that. Or when some coaches, like, especially when it comes to the college football playoff, it's either you don't really believe that, or you're absolutely towing company line here, which I get. I totally understand. But at the same time, I can, like, smell inauthenticity when it comes out in a press conference setting. I've prided myself on being able to have a really good BS detector. But yesterday when Drinkitz was speaking, I was sitting here, I'm like, yeah, he really believes that. Or with some things, especially when it came to the college football playoff, like he's thought this through. I maybe don't necessarily agree, which I don't. And we'll get to that one in full when we have a full segment to be able to break that one down. I definitely don't agree with the premise in full, but I appreciate you sharing a thought that I can 100% tell you genuinely believe in.
It's eighth period on a Thursday. This coach is your teacher. Who is more likely to put you to sleep, Billy Napier or Clark Lee?
Clark Lee.
You said that convincingly.
I did.
Even with the moniker of Boring Billy.
Yeah, and Boring Billy is pretty boring. Like, Billy Napier was telling, like, childhood stories of going to high school football games with his dad in Georgia, because his dad is a high school football coach. I like sharing personal anecdotes, but that was one where that's a clock killer, right? I mean, it's you could tell that was the one where he's up 7 late in the game, and he knows he just wants to run this clock out as much as humanly possible before he gives the ball back to his opponent, which is the reporters with questions, because you get really an unlimited time to be able to give your opening statement. And some coaches will go as long as humanly possible for that opening statement. That way they can take fewer questions. And I think Shane Beamer might still have the record last year with 17 minutes.
He went 17. What did he go, 15 minutes this year?
15
He went a
this
little
year.
bit short. He might have been talking a little bit faster.
There's a little bit of regression.
Yeah. If I'm looking at these numbers, we're talking about coaches. Just being interesting. I got Eli, I got Shane, and I got Lane. Eli, Shane, and Lane. After that in the SEC,
yeah.
Anybody interesting?
I wouldn't say Kirby Smart is interesting from a casual fan standpoint.
I'll take Kirby. I can add Kirby to that list.
But what Kirby does, here'd be my advice to anybody who's listening to this and is getting into coaching. You get into coaching and you actually learn good philosophy from just coaching anything. It's not just because he won't go into a lot of specific X's and O's stuff, but he will go into things like development. Now, there might be a cliche thrown in there here and there, but he actually does a really good job of conveying how he treats his players and how he wants to run his program and why his program runs the way it does. It was, Wednesday night, I meet up with one of my best friends. Shout out Brandon Benson. He just took a basketball coaching job at an NAIA school in Atlanta. And I was like, hey, dude, I'm in town for media days. A little more free on Wednesday night. You want to meet up? And we meet up. And he was asking how media days is going. And I remember telling him, like, Kirby was pretty insightful because we played the development clip that you can't speed up development. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I really liked that. I thought there was some real coaching truth to that. And he goes, dude, I show my players all the time Kirby Smart clips. And he sent me a couple that he's like, oh, here, let me just send you a link to a few of those. And one of those was a clip from him at practice where he's telling his players, he said, the first sign of a loser mentality is blame mentality. If adversity hits and you start blaming people, now I'm paraphrasing here, and you start blaming people, first sign of a loser, first sign of loser mentality. And he's like, I show my players that every day.
You're just a loser. Straight from the words of Lou Holtz. Losers blame, complain, make excuses. Loser language.
Loser language. Oh, that's good. We're going to have to start using that throughout the year. Loser language. And that whole clip that he sent me was cracking down on loser language. And he's like, love or hate Kirby Smart. He's like, I understand he's polarizing. He's like, but I take from that man in terms of showing stuff to my players, maybe more so than any college basketball coach even.
There's another clip from Kirby that cannot be spoken on at 6:11 in the morning, which I frequently love to say, and it's about him wanting him and his players to eat. And there's some choice words he says in between that also.
Oh, some FCC violators?
Yeah.
A few of the
it's one of my favorite clips.
A few of the words George Carlin said were the magic ones that you can't say on TV or radio.
Just one of them, over and over and over and over and over again. Just one of them.
Just really hammering the point home. But yeah, if I in terms of just like press conference interest, I would say the best one from yesterday was Eli Drinkitz. And before we hit any type of break, I need to make this like abundantly clear now that I'm back. And yesterday, when we had a little bit of a lull period, I was like, I want to see the rest of what I can. Because at the College Football Hall of Fame for this, you're only able to see some of the museum, and it's a small fraction of the museum. But there's still some things that were on Radio Row that you could still see, some exhibits. And even what would normally take a lap around there would normally take the average person, if they're not standing and looking at stuff, would probably take you about 5 minutes. I was there for about 45 because of all the cool stuff that was there. Did you realize Paul Bunyan's axe in the Wisconsin-Minnesota rivalry trophy is like this big? For those who aren't watching on the stream, I got my arms extended. Like, that thing is huge.
So exactly what is your wingspan?
Right. Yeah. It's your entire wingspan. And I grew up watching players pick that thing up out of the case after the game and holding it like it's a regular axe. Buddy, that is not a regular axe.
If I remember correctly, that was very high on Tyler's list of actual rivalry game trophies.
It's sick. It's awesome. The old oaken bucket was there too. I thought that was really neat, so I got to see that in person. But all the cool stuff you get to see there. And obviously, if you're listening to the show, you love college football, right? You're not listening to the show if college football is not your cup of tea. When South Carolina goes next month to play Virginia Tech and you're going, get there a day earlier, get there that Saturday, and go to the College Football Hall of Fame. And if you're anything like me, you might be able to kill 3.5 hours there. Highly recommend it. That is arguably one of the coolest places I have ever been in my life. And now I have to go back because I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. A lot of interactive exhibits and things like that.
Yeah, they even have like a little ESPN College Game Day desk where you can record your own game day segment.
Nice.
That's fun. That way you've got an audition tape to send in.
Yeah, exactly. A spot's opening up. If you want to take Lee Corso's spot, I know a place where you can record your demo tape.
That's pretty impressive. That would be fun.
Yeah. So I could go on all day about exactly how fun that was. So next month, you should totally check it out. But the favorite part about SEC Media Days, just in general, is submitting a ballot for preseason projected order of finish. Who do I think is going to win the SEC? And did I put the Gamecocks too high or too low? Am I an idiot? Well, we're going to discuss and hopefully not be too mean to me next here on the Early Game.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. You don't have to worry about anything. Call up Absolute Glass. They'll take care of it. They'll get you a free quote and do the job. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And good Friday morning to you. We do have an accident to make you aware of, and that would be Clemson Road at I-20. So be mindful in that area of that accident that could slow you down just a little bit. Operation Southern Slowdown continues through the 20th. And basically, that's just some southern states focusing on reducing speeding and aggressive driving. So just keep in mind that people are going to be monitoring that just a little bit more. And today, maybe an isolated afternoon or evening storm. 97 for the high. Heat index could be about 104. Starting off your morning at 78 on 107.5 The Game.
Without a doubt, one of the coolest things to do at Media Days every year, if you are a member of the Credentialed Media, you get a link. And you get to click on that link, and you get to have your takes documented forever. And most of them are going to be wrong. And I need to come up with a metric to figure out how accurate I could be on a yearly basis. And all of us that go, that way we can, see who gets the closest. But you get to submit your final ballot, your all SEC teams, and your final ballot for projected order of finish. And I think I'm ready to get mine roasted.
I'm listening.
Okay. Should we start from the bottom and go up?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's how I like it. I like building suspense. I like building drama.
Build it up.
Number 16, the deadest program in the SEC right now, Kentucky, and their rent-a-quarterback system. I'm such a non-believer in Kentucky, and there's no way Mark Stoops. Once that buyout goes down a little bit and Kentucky feels comfortable spending a lot of money on football to get rid of a head coach, I don't think he's going to be there anymore. 15, Mississippi State. So congratulations, Bulldogs. I think you'll win more than the 2 games you won last year. I'll give you a little bit of a round of applause here. Year 2 under Jeff Lebby. There's going to be a little improvement, but they're not going bowling. Number 14, Arkansas. Sorry, Uncle Sam. I don't know if you win enough. Our boy Ty Richardson yesterday said it's probably going to take 7 games in the regular season.
Yeah, and you just don't ever want to go into a season saying, meh. No. And that's essentially what Ty said yesterday. He was like, yeah, it's not.
Even for a program who realistically will never have expectations of being in the top half of the SEC.
And when a SEC fan base can't convince themselves to get excited, you're in
trouble.
Tough spot. Because we can convince ourselves of anything.
We can. Yeah, the human brain can convince yourself of the wildest stuff. Yeah. But in Arkansas, they seem to be a little more self-aware and self-loathing. Number 13, Auburn. In a must-win year for Hugh Freeze.
Okay, if in fact that holds up, is that good enough for Hugh Freeze to stay?
It should not be.
Okay.
At Auburn, it absolutely should not be. Right. And here's the thing with Auburn. I like a lot of their roster. I really do. I think Cam Coleman's an electric wide receiver. And I think them getting Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech at receiver makes you get one of the best 1-2 receiving combos in college football. But how do you get the football to those receivers, Preston Thorne?
Got to have a quarterback.
And last year, they lost a lot of one-score games and a lot of games in which they turned the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
Does Jackson Arnold make you feel like you're going to be able to rectify that in a year?
Yeah, I don't know if we weren't doing the show last year, but I had a special interest in Auburn's quarterback situation because my play cousin Peyton Thorne,
that's right,
was the quarterback, and that was my guy, but didn't go well.
It did not.
Not for my cousin. So
at all.
Shout out to Peyton. Didn't go well.
Yeah.
P. Thorne's not great for him.
P. Thorne's not a great year for P. Thorne's at quarterback last year.
It's true.
I don't think it's going to be a good year for Jay Arnold's this year either, especially out on the plains. Number 12, Vanderbilt. I do love what they got going defensively, and they returned a higher percentage of their team back than anyone in college football this year, which could be good enough for 7-5 as opposed to 6-6. Maybe. I love Diego Pavia, and I talked myself into making Diego Pavia my number 3 quarterback on my ballot for all SEC, even though I think Taylon Green is a better quarterback. From Arkansas, the turnovers, like if I'm picking a quarterback, I'm taking him. But what Pavia means to Vanderbilt is way more than what Green means to Arkansas.
Understood.
Kind of led that decision. Number 11, and this is also my early remorseful part because I wish I could switch these two, but 11 Missouri, 10 Ole Miss. And now after submitting it, I talked myself into thinking Missouri's better than Ole Miss and went to flip that from 10 to 11. But what I have documented is Missouri 11, Ole Miss 10. And the more I kind of dug on Missouri, I got convinced to them a little bit of being better than I thought. But still, the quarterback situation is a very big question. I think I trust Austin Simmons based on like pedigree, based on the measurables, than I would Bo Prabula.
Well, Eli Drinkitz said something I thought was very interesting. He said there's 2 questions that they need to answer. They need to answer the quarterback question, and they need to answer the left tackle question.
Yeah, I don't love that.
And those are not 2 great questions.
No.
And being the eternal homer, I was like, we have those questions answered.
Yeah, significantly.
So I just thought that was a fairly interesting tidbit from Eli. All right, continue.
Number 9, Tennessee. As many doubts as I have on the offensive side of the ball, that's still an offense that even with bad quarterback play, like we watched them with Joe Milton for an entire season, and they went 8-4. And the guy is one of the least accurate throwers I've ever watched in my life.
But he can throw it far.
But he can throw it to another zip code. I mean, he's got an alien arm. It just doesn't go into the human arms of his players sometimes, and that can be a little bit of an issue. But even then, with terrible accuracy in quarterback play, that defense was good enough to go 8-4 that year. I think the defense can be good enough to go 8-4 this year, especially if Jermon McCoy, who's one of the, 5 best corners in the country, is going to be one of the more highly sought-after draft prospects at that position. If he's able to come back early, then I think their secondary is good enough. They got a couple of dudes on the defensive line, and Tim Banks is a great defensive coordinator. Middle Tennessee State should have hired him. Number 8, Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma makes a little bit of a jump.
Okay.
I'm not buying in on them to really contend for the college football playoff, but they're going to be better than 6 and 7. I love Jaden Ott at running back. I love them finally being healthy on the offensive line. They had a 23 South Carolina-esque offensive line season and receiver position, but I think that's going to improve a little bit. Number 7, South Carolina. I've got them in the top 7, and I think I'm lower on them than Tyler and Jay because we exchanged notes a little bit. I've got them a little lower, mostly because I think their slate is harder than some of the teams that are ahead of them. And they got bad home road draws. Like the Missouri game can be interesting, but it can be hard because it's on the road. It's a hard place to win, especially for this program. They have Texas A&M on the road, who returns about 70+% of their roster from last year, especially both sides of the line of scrimmage. And that's why I have Texas A&M at number 6, because of how good they are on the line of scrimmage. Football games are won and lost with the biggins. A&M may not have the most biggins, but they have some of the best. And that was a really good offensive line last year that created a really good running game, and all of those guys are back. All of them. And almost all of the starting defensive linemen are back this year. Oh, and Will Lee is an incredible shutdown corner. Offensively, Marcel Reed needs some growth for his quarterbacking, but they run the ball so well. And what did they do to help him out? They got the number 1 receiver in the transfer portal.
Elijah, I hear you. I hear words coming out of your mouth, but I'm looking at this list, and something's happening here.
Something is happening here. You want to guess what happened at number 5?
I don't know.
Florida.
That's what I was.
I think Florida makes a jump this year.
That's what I was thinking.
That's the one team that at SEC Media Days that I wasn't very high on going into it. I looked into him a little harder when Billy was speaking. And it wasn't anything Billy said.
Boring Billy convinced you?
Boring Billy convinced me a little bit. And then I looked at some of the numbers of some of the players. I'm like, wow, they got a running game. Lagway's got some weapons. That offensive line's really good. They have an all-American caliber center. Oh, that defensive line is nasty. And even with the hard schedule, I think Florida surprises a lot of us. Number 4, Alabama. And Ty Simpson is the one thing that would keep them from being in the top 3. Number 3, LSU. I think the defense is just good enough to win them a lot of games. Number 2, Georgia. Out of pure respect for that program, even though they have 54% of their players being first or second year players.
Oh, I thought you were going to say arrested.
Also that too. Yeah, you got to keep them out of the Athens jail. And then number 1, Texas. And to be frank, I think Texas actually wins the national championship this year. That's my pick to win the entire thing is the Texas Longhorns.
Interesting.
So we'll react to that a little bit on the other side, but specifically next on the early game, we have our not most creative hypothetical. That's the next segment. But the SEC being loaded with NFL talent. There are a couple players I want to key in on Old Man versus Analytics next.
Clemson Road at I-20, we have a report of an accident there, so expect a little bit of a slowdown in that area. And forecast-wise, yep, we're looking for warm temperatures definitely today and tomorrow. Isolated afternoon or evening storm possible today, 97 for the high, but that heat index of 105. Tomorrow, 98 with a heat index of 106. But it'll be sunny tomorrow. And then late day storms possible again on Sunday, looking for a high of 97. And going to kind of stay in this pattern through about Monday before we get into the low 90s early part of next week. Right now, 77.
All right. It's time to pick on the nerd, which is me in this scenario. It's old man versus analytics, and today we're breaking down some numbers on some of the best players in the SEC. Because when coming up with my preseason ballot for the all-SEC team, when it came time to picking between one or two players, I had to. I will dig into the numbers and be like, what do I value in a football player at this position? And then I'll look at some of the very specific stuff because you can't watch every play from anybody. And I've watched all these guys play, but when it comes down to breaking down some of the minute differences between the two players, I want to be as informed as humanly possible.
And so you just look at a bunch of numbers on a chart, and that's how you get your information?
To break small ties. Because I watch all of them. A lot of them, it's like, yeah, I watched you play. I know exactly how good you are. For a lot of them, especially for running backs, where there's not a lot of returning starting running backs in this league.
Right.
At all. So I have to see how good were you in your small sample sizes and what separates you maybe from other players. But we'll start with this. Now, this is the one that was mind-blowing. I knew Ahmad Hardy was really good at Louisiana Monroe last year. Maybe the best freshman running back in college football. He's transferred to Missouri. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year, Preston, after contact.
Ooh, yak.
Yak monster.
Mm-hmm. Give me that yak.
1,000 yards worth. Rocket Sanders didn't have that. But this is a guy that ran for over 1,000 yards after contact this year. Specifically, he averaged over 7.5 yards per run off the right end. Given what Missouri likes to do in the run game, a lot of stretch plays, a lot of runs to the outside, he'll be a problem for everybody in the SEC this year.
That's an interesting proposition. Again, Eli, I don't know how this is actually happening, but we're giving Dorkowitz a little bit of props here. Not only does
I did not foresee this.
Not only is he giving an entertaining presser, but we've all conceded that he's an excellent play caller. And with somebody back there to take advantage of that, that could be dangerous for folks going in. So that's something I would keep my eye on.
Yeah, I mean, and it might be one of the best marriages of talent and fit with what you do on offense. Because for those who remember the game here last year, Missouri is one of the only teams in the SEC that ran the ball effectively against South Carolina, and it was all stretch plays, outside zone runs, a lot of races to the corner, right to the boundary. Mm-hmm. They won a lot of them. Now, granted, Missouri's offensive line was better in full last year. Now, the interior of their offensive line comes back. Caden Green's a really good guard. They got a couple of guys that are really good players on that offensive line, but they don't have the left tackle thing figured out. And, of course, when you run on the outside, you kind of need the help from guys like your tackle. So that is interesting to see. But number two, one of my favorite players in the league, that's not a South Carolina Gamecock, Texas A&M cornerback Will Lee III. Last year, he made a bold move. If you remember, against Missouri, he sends Luther Burden a blanket, a Texas A&M blanket, to remind him that he'll be covered all day. It's funny. And his completion percentage last year on targets to Will Lee, 47.8%. Was pretty good. He broke up 8 passes. Is Will Lee the blanket of the SEC?
Now, this is very interesting because from what I'm understanding about Texas A&M is obviously they did not finish well last year.
Nope.
They have intentions of doing that again this year.
Always seem to find their way to 8-4 somehow.
They'll figure that out. I guess I'm wondering, what does that mean for Texas A&M? If indeed they do have a guy that is the cover guy, what does that mean? Does that mean that their defense is solidified and locked down? We'll see. They're known for having the big guys up front.
Yep.
They got the big uns for sure.
They do.
Do they have it in the back end? So I'll be interested to see what that means.
They have more big ends returning than almost anybody. I'd have to do the number. But are they, I guess, on the defensive side, good enough to get pressure? Because I think last year that was one of the things that kept them from winning more, was they quit getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, despite having a lot of NFL talent on the edges.
Well, speaking of, Shamar Stewart is not coming back to college, even though that was
Confirmed.
That was a wild rumor that was starting. That was passed around. He hasn't signed yet, but that was a wild rumor that was saying he was coming back to college. Mike Elko deaded that, so we don't have to worry about that.
I didn't know you could even do that. I think there are some
it's
rules.
2025.
I guess, yeah. The sentence, I didn't think you could do that, means absolutely nothing anymore. All right, this was an interesting one, too. And for Gamecock fans, may open up a little bit of a sore spot. So in the Citrus Bowl last year, Josh McCray ran for 113 yards against South Carolina. Well, he's at Georgia now, and last year he picked up 39 first downs. Is he the next great clock managing and drive extending running back at Georgia?
Oh, Bobo's salivating. If I can throw a toss sweep into the boundaries of this guy
on a 3rd and 4 or something like that.
That'll make Mike Bobo so happy and Georgia fans so annoyed. This is another great marriage and a great fit. And also, according to Brett Bielema, he was on the plane before he got a call. I think he said 24 hours after he got a call, he was in Athens. So, and I don't know how many direct flights they have from Champaign to Athens. I don't know how that works.
I can't imagine there's many, Preston Thorne. I really can't. I
Is there an airport in Champaign?
Just outside of Champaign, yeah. Nothing huge, that's for sure. Regional.
Very regional.
Is it one of those where they have, the planes have, individual hangars?
Yeah, pretty much.
Instead of, having, one giant airplane or airport. That might have been it.
But yeah, it definitely is not something you're going to be going into, en route to the Bahamas.
But here's something that's really interesting about that to me is that Georgia typically has a stable of running backs.
Yes, they're not bell cows.
It's intriguing to me that they went and got one as opposed to having one, which seems like they typically do.
Yeah, and Nate Frazier's coming back. He was a freshman last year that ran for, I want to say it was a little over 500 yards. And McCray last year didn't run for over 700. He was a little under 700. I think it was 659 is what he ran for last year. And he only had a couple games where he ran for over 100, but he did pick up again. Sometimes it might not be how many yards you run for in a season, but picking up 39 first downs is a lot throughout the course of a season. And I think really for what Georgia's looking for a 1-2 combo in their backfield, I mean, we've seen them do this forever. Sony Michel and Nick Chubb and insert running back duo here. Isaiah Crowell was one of the more talented running backs in college football, but I don't know if he ever led that team in carries, right? Almost a seemingly perfect fit for somebody. Almost just not fair that they were able to get one of the more efficient runners in the Big Ten. Last one here. Florida defensive end Tyreek Sapp was credited with 29 stops last year, which is just when you make a tackle that results in what is considered a failure for the offense. So just success rate, but inverted. 29 of those last year. He had 7 stops against a great Louisiana offensive line or LSU offensive line in that game specifically. Is he the key to Florida managing a monster of a schedule?
Ooh, this is another solid one just because of the fact that you need to have an edge player. But as I said about Missouri, who don't have their quarterback question answered, and they don't have their left tackle question answered, Florida has an edge guy, but we got one too.
Yes. And Dylan Stewart, I would say, is better than Tyreek Sapp. But Tyreek, which also, what's that saying? Because Dylan Stewart's better than almost everybody. I don't know if there's an edge rusher in America I would take. People love Texas's Colin Simmons. I think I'd still take Dylan over Colin Simmons if you absolutely made me have to pick one of those. And when it came down to making my ballot, I did take Dylan Stewart over Colin Simmons. Dylan Stewart was my number 1 defensive lineman on my ballot, but I gave my projected order of finish in the last segment. Preston picks it apart in the next segment to round out hour number 1 of the early game. All right. Time for Preston to do a little grading. As an educator, this is not a foreign concept to Mr. Thorne. But he's going to grade, not, an academic paper, just my projected order of finish in the SEC now that we are done with media days. And as a refresher, here's what it looked like. 16 Kentucky, 15 Mississippi State, 14 Arkansas, 13 Auburn, 12 Vanderbilt, 11 Missouri, 10 Ole Miss, 9 Tennessee, 8 Oklahoma, 7 South Carolina, 6 Texas A&M, 5 Florida.
Sorry, go ahead.
5 Golden Rings. I really don't remember so much that 12 Days of Christmas song. I think I only know like 3. I've heard that song my entire life, and I think I've only memorized like 3 of them.
Yeah, for some reason, as you're doing this, I was just hearing the song, so I apologize. I'll let
5
you keep
Florida
going.
Gators, 4
Christmas
Alabama.
in July.
Yeah. it
4
is.
Crimson Tide.
We're halfway there. 4 Crimson Tide, 3 Tigers of LSU, 2 Bulldogs of Georgia, and 1 big Bevo Longhorn in Texas. That's my champion.
I'm not going to grade you as much as I'm going to interrogate you.
Okay, let's do it.
Because you've provided the answers here. I need to know that these answers did not just come straight from ChatGPT. And so we're giving an oral exam here.
Okay.
Okay, so Elijah, can you give me your number one reason why you have Texas not only number one here, but also winning the national championship?
Easy. They have the best play caller in college football when it comes to offense. Arch Manning doesn't even have to be as great as people are hyping him up to be. He just has to be good enough. Quinn Ewers was good enough. Quinn Ewers is a good rule follower of a quarterback. In a Steve Sarkisian offense, rule-following quarterbacks can win you games. Rule-following quarterbacks with a dynamic playmaking set with their legs can help you win championships. They bring back 2 of their top 4 receivers from last year in a loaded offense. They still have some replacing to do on the offensive line, but they're replacing those guys with 5-star and 4-star recruits. The running game is as good as anybody's in college football. I think Trey Wisner might be the best running back returning in the SEC this year. Oh, yeah, and that defense has maybe the best defensive player in all of college football with Anthony Hill, a guy who's potentially a top 5 pick next year. Colin Simmons, a guy who was voted as the best freshman of the year by many publications. And the back end is every bit as lethal as it was last year, despite losing Jahdae Barron and Andrew Makuba. Michael Taff is an All-American caliber safety. They got a couple lockdown corners. This is a team that I think learns some lessons from the 2 losses at Georgia last year that kept them from being as good as they were. And the only team to really give Ohio State that big of a scare in the college football playoff. I know Notre Dame came back late, but Texas had a chance, 5-6 yards away from the goal line, and that pick 6 made the game look more out of reach than what it actually was.
Okay, that's pretty good. I think you might have a grip on this, but I have another question for you.
Yes.
Out of these teams, the 6 teams that are ranked, that you have ranked above South Carolina, Texas A&M, Florida, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and Texas, which one of them would South Carolina most likely be able to overtake in the Elijah preseason rankings?
I would say Florida. Florida because that schedule. Now, if Florida can conceivably be like one of the 5 best teams in the SEC and still go 8-4. Carolina goes 9-3, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility at all. Then they would, in fact, leapfrog Florida. Carolina's schedule's tough. It's not Florida's. Florida's got a really tough draw in a lot of these games, and I'm banking on Florida getting a little lucky, maybe winning some of those coin flip games this year that they might not have last season.
Okay. Out of these 6 teams that are ahead, 3 of them are on our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of them do you think is the most likely for us to upset?
You know what? I'll go Alabama. Because of the Kalen DeBoer stat that we threw out earlier in the week, especially if they come in here favored, and they're caught looking ahead, which Kalen DeBoer teams have been known to do, and especially if Ty Simpson isn't very good at quarterback.
Yesterday we were talking to SEC Mike, and he said he picked Alabama.
Yeah.
And I kind of pressed him a little bit. I was like, what about the quarterback situation? He was like, I don't know. That wasn't a good enough answer for me.
I don't love that. Because here's the thing. Alabama has won with, I don't know, at quarterback. Like Greg McElroy, Jake Coker.
That is factually true.
But
what's your but? Because I have a big one. Here we go. You ready? Big dumper. I have the big dumper here. Here we go. Yes, Alabama has won.
Nick Saban.
That is correct.
And
that is correct.
What about those offenses made them elite despite not having a great quarterback?
I think his name was Trent Richardson. I think his name Derrick
Yeah.
Henry. I think
2 Heisman-winning running backs
Yeah,
with
Mark
Mark Ingram.
Ingram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they won
I
championships.
believe that was their names.
With great run blocking and elite running backs. Is Jam Miller the elite running back? Is Richard Young the elite running back that's Heisman caliber that makes up for the sins of your quarterback? I don't think so. And that's why I put them 4. But they're so talented at every other position that I think that's still going to be really good.
All right, last question. Out of those 6 that are above South Carolina, which one is it possible for it to all fall down and for them to go down burning in flames?
Texas A&M. Because that's what they do. And, like, that's the thing. I understand, like, that's what they do. But I'm a huge believer that curses are made to be broken and reputations are made to change. I'm a big believer in second chances and redemption. But also, I would not be surprised if A&M starts 8-1 and then drools all over themselves to end the season, because that's what they do.
All right. I think you passed. I think you actually made this list. I don't think this was a ChatGPT list. I think you actually did this one.
And you know what? A&M can still finish 6 and be 8-4. And 8-4 is kind of their thing. That's all for hour number 1. Hour number 2 comes up next, including some clips from the most interesting man at SEC Media Days this week.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all, but guess what? It's coming quickly. The season is nearly here. You still have time, but don't wait to get your outdoor setup ready. What is the outdoor setup? You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, or Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors so you can control all your devices. You can have your tablet, your phone, your computer, your multi-screens. You can be watching anything and everything you want when sports action heats back up as we roll into the fall. So from home theater setups to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Still working the earlier tie-up, Clemson Road at I-20. Aside from that, things moving along fairly well for your Friday. We are looking for a couple of really warm days. 97 today, heat index of 105. Tomorrow and Sunday, heat indexes or the high is about 97, 98. Heat index is 105, 106, somewhere in there. So just dangerously hot. Be sure to be extra careful. And also make sure you're staying hydrated. We do have a chance for maybe a pop-up afternoon storm. Definitely no washouts are to be expected, but always that distinct possibility of maybe a storm coming in. 77 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of Friday's early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And really, for only the second time in the history of this iteration of the early game, we are all in the same place at the same time. This feels great. I missed you guys.
Glad to have you back in town, in the studio, so I'm not talking to a screen.
Yeah.
You know, that's not great. So,
No.
yeah, this is a lot better.
Yeah, I think we can have a lot of fun, and we'll get back to doing our calisthenics out in the hallway and stuff like that, because Preston and I do a lot of that in the mornings. We've got to run during the breaks, and Preston's like, no, that's happening.
Hey, the hamstring's almost healed. I might have to push it.
Yeah.
I might have to test it, not push it. Test it. I need to test it because we got like 3 softball games left, and I want to at least play in one more.
Yeah.
I did not pay $65 to play in just one game.
If you were on NFL injury report, would you be doubtful, probable?
Is game time decision still one?
No.
Okay, so I think we just have doubtful, probable, questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say questionable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's taking a little bit for that to heal.
Yes, because I was told by a doctor 6 weeks for tearing my right hamstring.
Ugh.
And after that was like June 11th or 12th. It was before Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So it's been a month, which is 4 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there. I don't feel the need to wear my compression sleeve anymore. It's fine. I don't feel it when I walk. I have not run, however, since then. And usually that's when it hurts a little bit. So I'd say questionable.
Okay.
Questionable to return.
I'm glad you're at least recovering, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There
That's
is.
good.
The bruising's gone, and it was gnarly. So
I bet.
That itself is a good sign. And once that heals, I'll feel like a winner. Eli Drinkitz talked like a winner yesterday. And he certainly had the swagger of one. You couldn't tell if that man was, 12-0 in the college football playoff last year just by the way he was talking. But he did say something that I found to be incredibly interesting. And not because I agree with it, but because it was thoughtful. And in media days where normally coaches kind of go through the motions and do what I give you the Derek Jeter answer, which is a 2-minute clip of absolutely nothing but the most delicious of word salads you've ever seen in your life. Eli Drinkitz was asked about the college football playoff and the SEC's role in it. Here's what he had to say. This is cut 6, Jen.
In my viewpoint of it, I think we should go back and try to find more ways to include teams. How do we get more people involved? Because that's better for the players. That's better for the player experience to have more people involved in the potential to play for a championship. And it's better for the fan bases. I think we all would agree that the 4 college football playoff games at home campuses was a huge win for college football. We need to expand that opportunity, that energy and excitement. So my math could be wrong here, but if we did the 12, okay, and you had 4 automatic qualifiers. Everybody thinks that's limiting. It's not limiting if you think about it from, you take those 4 automatic qualifiers and you divide that up into 8 opportunities of 8 play-in games. So now you're taking the SEC's playing in for 8, you're taking the Big Ten's playing in for 8. Since we've expanded the bubble to 16, give 3 to the 3 to the Big 12, 3 to the ACC, 1. Now you've got 30 teams. 30 teams. Now we're talking about an opportunity for 30 teams, 30 fan bases to be excited and engaged in giving revenue. Got 30 teams with players who have access to compete for a championship. And so for me, I think that makes a lot more sense. Again, when you're talking about the NFL playoff system, not only is it 14 teams, but you only have to be the best out of your 4-team division. So you got to compete against 4 teams in order to make the playoffs. Again, when you're at the University of Missouri, if you say, hey, you just have to finish in the top 8 to have a chance to play in the playoffs, that's a win every day. And I'm all for that. I think that's awesome. 8 versus 9. Honestly, I think I've been for the 9 game. I think if it was about players and about fans, I think it's a 9-game schedule for the SEC. If it's about coach preservation, which, hey man, I get it, but if we're going to go to 11 humans deciding on a committee which are the 11 best teams, and we stay at 8, we ain't getting in.
Coach preservation. Talking about Mark Stoops. But a lot of interesting stuff there. And the headline from that is the 30-team college football playoff. While I love the rationale, I love the idea of trying to get as many fan bases involved and passionate as possible. One of the best parts about college football, Preston Thorne, is that making the playoff is hard. And it's harder than almost any sport, including college basketball, including college baseball, softball, you name it. Out of all the sports in America that we enjoy on a yearly basis, this is the one that is arguably the hardest to make. And I think that's one of the reasons that makes college football a separator than other professional sports.
First off, I wanted to Eli get called to Principal Sankey's office for granting all these playoff spots to these other conferences when Greg has been specifically saying no.
He's acting in the best interest of them hoarding all of them. Yes.
So he kind of was counter of what Greg's been preaching all year. But I appreciate the thoughtfulness. I appreciate him coming up with a solution that shows that he does care about the institutions that he's working with. I get all that. My counter to that would be we have these play-ins already. Matter of fact, Missouri, you played in one last year when you played to South Carolina and you lost to South Carolina. That was, in effect, a play-in. It wasn't labeled that way, but it was exactly a play-in. We played in a play-in when we played Clemson at the end of the year. If we didn't win that game, we would not have been in contention.
Yep.
If Clemson loses that game, they're out of contention, possibly because of the automatic qualifier.
Well, I don't think anyone thought that Miami was going to blow a 21-point lead to Syracuse that night.
My argument is I don't think we need to add more to already get the same effect.
Right.
I was staunchly against even the 12 team. Being old school, preservation, all that type of stuff. But what last year did show me is that, no, these can actually still add value to the regular season where essentially we played 3 playoff games before we even got to the postseason last year as the season was ending. And so I think that's where I would disagree with Eli. But I do hear him and I appreciate his thoughtfulness.
Yeah, and I appreciate outside the box thinking. Even if I don't agree with it, I am cool as somebody kind of going against the grain and saying, well, this is here's what I think we should do and here's why. I can appreciate that. But if you think about it, last year, like the entire season for South Carolina was part of a playoff. And that was, I mean, you mentioned it too as one of your reservations for expanding to 12 is like a diminishing of the product.
That's what I
thought. Regular season.
That's what I thought was going to happen. And in effect, at least the way it played out first, it did not happen that way.
Yeah. I mean, because look, the Alabama game was like a play-in game. The Ole Miss game was like a play-in game. You know why? Because you lost to the only 2 teams that were keeping you from being in the college football playoff. The 2 teams in the rankings that stood between you and history were 2 of your 3 losses this year. And then when the head-to-head matters, that was your playoff. But for South Carolina to be in a position last year where you essentially got to play playoff games to try to get your way in and give yourself a chance because of how well you played during the season is still really neat. It still made the regular season incredibly important. And that's why I knew that was probably still going to happen, but that's my favorite thing about the 12-team playoff. A 14 playoff, it wasn't happening.
Correct.
The minute you lose game number 2, it is over. over. You are not coming back from that. But in a 12-teamer, we still saw a team with 3 losses in SEC play have a chance at the end of the season. When they beat Clemson, the one game that I had when I was in the press box, posting video and doing all the stuff that I normally do after games, I had on my iPad pulled up the Alabama-Auburn game. And I was the biggest Auburn Tiger fan that day because you know what? Auburn beats Alabama. And Ole Miss already beat Mississippi State, but maybe you have a better chance. It still looked like a long shot, but you had a better chance if Alabama were to have lost to Auburn, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. That happens in that rivalry with some regularity. But essentially, you created more playoff games that way, where the regular season still mattered a ton. But 30 to me, like here's the thing. I love a de facto play-in or playoff game in the regular season when it involves teams that maybe have 3 losses, but they're eliminating each other. In 30, especially in the SEC, you'd have what we just labeled as a regular season playoff game between 2 5-loss teams.
Right. And that's way down the list.
Yes.
Right. And that's where it gets diluted. That's where you don't want to get into these things. Because even he brought up the NFL. Even sometimes we have these NFL conversations where it's like, yeah, you're 9-7. I mean, okay.
Hey, congrats, you won the NFC South.
Wait, hold on a second. That might be my team's claim to fame.
That very well could be.
We'll see.
That's honestly maybe one of the best sells for you is to be able to have an easier path to the playoffs.
Straight path to the playoffs.
Because you get to play 3 teams that are average at best for Tampa. I think Tampa's good average. But then you have the Panthers and the Saints, and they are not very good. And you get to play them twice. So there's an easier roadmap to getting the playoffs. But in college football, like I respect the idea, but I don't know if I agree.
Also, the point that he brought up, which everybody was like, well, the 8-9 game, I don't know. But he said the quiet part out loud that coaches never say, oh, we don't want 9 games because we're going to lose another game, and we get judged by our records, and we have bonuses that are connected to this. And he said that.
Mark Stoops.
He said that, and that's one of the things that coaches really don't want to necessarily go to this extra game.
Yep.
Because then we're judging their records differently. Their contracts are set up in different ways.
Mark Stoops.
So, begrudgingly, I will say
he nailed that.
Kudos to Eli for saying the parts that need to be said.
Because, like, think about it, dude. Mark Stoops really went on, like, I think it was KSR a couple months ago. And when he was asked about the 9-game schedule and a mandate to play an extra out-of-conference game between them and a Big Ten school, I don't know if we can keep the Louisville rivalry. What? You're scared of Louisville? Mm-hmm. Louisville? You know Lamar Jackson doesn't play anymore there, right? Mm-hmm. You know Brian Brom ain't walking through that door. Jair Alexander is not playing corner for Louisville anymore. Can't play Louisville, your in-state rival, because we got to play another SEC game and we got to play a Big Ten game. Nope, might not be able to make that happen.
Yeah, he's just calculating this. All right, how do I get 500? Get to another bowl to continue that streak, which got snapped last year. I don't know. And
you think about it, he is definitely an FCS merchant or low G5 merchant, because usually that schedule every year, Murray State and Southern Miss. They make sure they're not very well tested non-conference play until they get to Louisville. And some years they win it, some years they don't.
Right.
I think Eli Drinkitz definitely, when he mentioned the coaching preservation, it's a lot of Mark Stoops, because Mark Stoops has probably been the most vocal opponent of a 9-game SEC schedule. But he said that yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I think I kind of like this guy, and this doesn't feel good to reach that, to have that realization. Still has the most punchable face in the SEC. But he made some points yesterday, and when he was walking to one of his radio hits, he was walking by Tyler while Tyler was in a commercial break, and Tyler goes, "You're a clip machine," and he gave like a fist bump, and Eli walks over and is like, I was like, "You're a real one. You're a real one."
Okay.
But at the same time,
don't you hate when you feel like you have to like somebody?
Yeah, it's like, that wasn't part of the plan here.
Don't dislike you.
Yeah.
Because the fun is making fun of him. The fun is hating the guy, right? Because he would beat us all the time, whether it be at Missouri or Appalachian State. And you hate losing to a guy that looks like that.
I'm going to be honest. If I go through the tapes, I think I might have called a ceasefire on Eli Drinkitz last year after Media Day, because I think he kind of did the same thing.
Yeah, you kind of went from calling him Dorkwood.
Yeah.
Now, later in the season, I think something happened.
Something happened that I went back, but I kind of feel like the same thing happened last year.
Yeah, we're going to have to course correct. Once we get closer to the season, we will course correct.
But that'll be game day, and that'll be fine.
Carolina plays them in September.
I'm declaring it now.
Yeah.
Ceasefire.
They play them in September.
For now.
ceasefire for now.
We got to get
ceasefire.
more ammo for September.
Yes.
That's going to be one of our biggest projects is more Eli Drinkitz ammo because I don't think the Love Fest should stand. It feels very unnatural. Speaking of unnatural, there were some unnatural injuries that occurred in a lot of football games last year. Some people would say they were faked or feigned if you read them in AP style. The SEC is trying to fix that. College football is trying to fix that. We talked about one rule change yesterday, but there are still some others, like that one, that you'll be interested in, including one that the Gamecocks may or may not have inspired. That's next here on the early game. Look, y'all, I love summer as much as the next guy, but sometimes summer can be a little messy. You're running around outside with no shoes on. You're bringing back in dirt into the house, and it makes cleaning a little more laborious, but that's where Zero Res comes in. And it's easy to remember, Zero Res, like zero residue from the outdoors. And because of summer, maybe making your house a little dirtier, Zero Res is offering you a once-a-year sale to take advantage of. 15% off carpet, air ducts, area rugs, upholstery, tile and grout, and more. Just mention Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game. Tell him I sent you there. And you can get 15% off. Summer goes by fast, so spend the time doing what you love. Let Zero Res take care of the whole cleaning thing from you. Easily schedule them online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Remember, Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the only right way to clean.
In Lexington County, Church Street between Fish Hatchery Road and Highway 302, we have a report of an accident there. Also, hardscrabble near Elders Pond Road, we do have a report of a tie-up due to an earlier accident. So a couple places to be mindful of this morning. 97 for the high today, heat index up to about 105. Tomorrow and Sunday, looking at highs around 97, 98. Again, this heat index is up around 106 or so. And just a chance for maybe a pop-up shower today and tomorrow. A little more likely on Sunday afternoon. But right now, it's warm, 78 on 107.5 The Game.
Look, I didn't come up with this, but Kendrick Lamar did. You can't fake influence. You can try to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. And I think South Carolina and Illinois might have been a little more influential in that bowl game than we knew at the time.
Who would have thought that a relatively, so they say, meaningless bowl game would have sparked this many layers? And they just keep peeling them back. Things just keep happening. Bielema's talking, Beamer's talking, there's rivalries, there's CFP implications, and now, Elijah, we have rule changes.
There was two elements of tomfoolery in that game.
Yes.
What made people mad here in Columbia was maybe the lack of urgency, to put it nicely, of Illinois' defensive players to get off the field when substitutions are being made on offense. Annoyed a lot of people. And what annoyed Illinois was the T-bar. So on that kickoff in the second half, where South Carolina players put up the T-bar, which is kind of like an unspoken signal to say that you're not returning the kick, right? That might be a sign to your blockers to, hey, don't turn around and block. We're not returning it. That tells other players to slow up. It just signals that you're not returning the ball out of the end zone. And South Carolina did that. Brett Bielema didn't like it. So when Brett Bielema went to go check on an injured player, he looks at Shane Beamer and, he does the T-bar. He lifts up his palms like this, like, what's up with that? And then, of course, Shane loses his mind. The rest is history. It became like the most viral clip during bowl season that had nothing to do with the college football playoff.
Yeah, there was only two fan bases watching that game. Like, the ratings was like Columbia and Champaign. Nobody else was, and anybody else who was really into the Cheez-Its, if you were Cheez-Its folks, right? That's it.
A lot of Cheez-Its fans.
Yeah.
Right here.
And so that specific thing was happening, and you have this T-bar incident, and it's really interesting to me because we have essentially a he said on this, right? And we have two clips, and you can be the judge of how this plays out. Who do we want to hear first? On the T-bar incident, who do we want to give first go at this? Do we want to hear from Beamer first, or do we want to hear from Bielema first describing this T-bar incident?
Let's do it in the press conference chronological order.
Okay.
Losing team goes first.
Okay,
so
I like it.
So Shane would have had a chance to speak first. So we'll play Shane's first, cut 41.
I think his issue was when we threw the throwback kickoff return. Our kickoff returner did this, which most teams, that's a signal that it's a touchback and we're not going to return the kick. You're allowed to do that as long as you don't do a waving motion. It's no different than on a punt. If the punt returner comes pointing to the ball that's bouncing on the ground, he's allowed to return it. If you're doing this, you're not allowed to return it. There was no waving of the arms, and I cleared it with the Big 12 officials before the game. I told them we were going to do it, making sure they were good with it. And they said, yeah, as long as he doesn't wave the arms. So I think he had an issue with that. You have to ask him why he didn't take it up with the officials and why he felt the need to come over here while his player was on the ground and look at me and say.
So, interesting. A lot of technicalities here.
Shane, were being a weasel. Let's just be honest. You were playing in the gray area, trying to find a little bit of a loophole. You were trying to
pull a fast one.
Doing beamer ball.
Yep,
doing beamer ball.
That's
right?
an element. Yeah,
it's an element of beamer ball. Trying to find you find, as the great Brad Lauren, rest in peace to the law dog. He said, "I don't break the rules, but I bend the hell out of them." Right? And so Shane was just trying to finesse as much as he could. So that's what Shane said about this. Now, Brent had his side of the story. This is 42.
The only thing that I did was there's a unwritten philosophy in coaching that when you do this as a college kickoff return guy, what you're doing is you're telling everybody else that it's going to be a fair catch and it's going to be dead in the end zone when the ball lands. The reason we do that, and I first got aware of it was in the NFL, was kickoff and kickoff return is the highest percentage of injury in the sport. So one of the things that coaches began to do was everybody out of respect started T-barring. I think these guys would tell you everybody does that. I've never seen it any other way. It's not official. There's nothing illegal. They didn't do anything illegal. But it put us, I think, in a position that we now, the ethic of what that is, got evaporated there, though, because our kids stopped. So when you're a kickoff return unit, right, if I'm running at you and the kickoff return back there, the guy blocking me, he doesn't know what's going on, so he's going to begin to engage you. And when you see somebody do that before the whistles are blown, you can stop, decelerate, and you don't have these massive collisions. Listen, I love Shane. He's a good person.
Sounded like he was getting ready to take the high road there after going off on violating unwritten rules.
He was about to.
Violating unwritten rules, but, and then there's the but.
Right. So there. While Bielema was being all righteous about the T-bar, he was also executing the very slow substitutions. So neither one of these dudes were right. They were both trying to gain an extra advantage within the rules.
Yep.
And now college football has said, we're taking away both of them.
Yep. As a result, part of John McDade, who is the the leader of SEC officials, when he was going over rule changes, unfortunately, they started the presentation at 8:30, so I missed the first half of it. But as soon as we went off air, I ran downstairs, and I'm trying to take as many notes as possible. I got there right in time for the rule changes part. And now you can no longer, if you do that T-bar signal, it is an automatic dead ball. Automatic. It is no longer an unwritten rule. It is a rule. It is a very written rule, explicitly laid out. And when it comes to substitutions, they've also tried to fix that because the standard here is a little silly, Preston Thorne. I wrote it down here, and I'm trying to feverishly. We'll never be confused as a stenographer, so I'm here listening to the presentation. I'm trying to write this down as much as possible. I did nail this. Substitutions now need to be done with a, quote, athletic pace as opposed to being done, quote, promptly. Promptly was the original standard for defensive substitutions getting off the field. And it was within 3 seconds. So the offense makes a substitution. You have 3 seconds to start your substitution, and it must be done promptly. Now the standard is offense makes a substitution. You still get 3 seconds to make your substitution, but now it must be done with an athletic pace. And if it is deemed that you are not getting off the field with an athletic pace, you can be flagged for delay of game. Is there a difference there?
No issues or with interpretation and all of that.
Right. I mean, what are we doing here? We think we're fixing something. You just changed a
because
word.
Obviously, this person's athletic pace might be a little bit different than the nice person's athletic pace.
Exactly. My athletic pace is going to be different than either one of you.
And if I'm a biggin, hey man, it might actually just take me 5 seconds to get off the field. You can't tell me I'm not being athletic.
Mr. Official, I'm tired, man. Yeah, this is me hauling it out of here. This is my athletic pace, right? Like our athletic pace looks maybe a little different than someone like LeBron James's athletic pace. A little bit.
Wow.
Totally not set up for misinterpreting.
How long did they work on that one?
Yeah, see, that's another thing too. What was the study group like to be like, all right, what word should we use to create a standard, a universal standard for how fast players should get off the field? Right now we say it's promptly. John, you got a thesaurus on you?
Athletic pace for a sumo wrestler, for a tennis player, for a runner.
There you go. Who's to say I'm not being as athletic as possible, but mine's is just a lot slower and conveniently allows another player to come in at a different time.
Well, that was the last game where you could fake T-bar signal. It's also the last game for 2 South Carolina Gamecocks. But last night, they got paid, and one of them helping make some history and bucking a trend in the process. That's next on the early game.
Hardscrabble Road near Elders Pond Road, we do have a report of an accident. One more to make you aware of, and that's Church Street between Fish Hatchery Road and Highway 302. Hot, and more hot is what we're looking at. 97 for the high today, heat index of 105. For the weekend, highs around 97, 98, and heat index is around 106. Do have that chance for a pop-up storm today and again on Sunday. But right now, starting off the morning, it's 77 on 107.5 The Game.
Cash, cheddar, coins.
Got a price.
What other ways can we
Moolah, dough,
dough.
dinero,
bread,
bucks.
all of that? Those are the words that are just constantly being regurgitated by two former Gamecocks that were second-round picks in the NFL draft that are going to be making that money. Now, at school, they obviously were. I'm not going to be naive here. They were making NIL, but now you're making big boy money.
Yeah, and they're getting paid because they're employees now. They are employees of these organizations. One is an employee of the Seattle Seahawks, and one is an employee of the Buffalo Bills.
Adam Schefter last night tweets Seattle Seahawks and Nick Emenwari reached agreement tonight on a fully guaranteed contract, marking the first time in NFL history that pick number 35 in the second round has secured a fully guaranteed contract. Now we'll go to the next tweet right here. This is also from Adam Schefter last night.
Back to back last night, and you know when you're working with the internet, you got it because we didn't want it to be Adam Schefter,
Adam
Schefters or somebody. So we had to check and verify and go through a couple of different stages before we got here.
It's like on the Dan Le Batard show where Stu Goss goes, I forgot what running back was it. It was Todd Gurley, Ravens, and he shows a tweet, and it's like from Adam Schefter and the handle was at not SportsCentre.
We didn't want this to be from not Adam Schefter, but this is official. The reason we know it's official is because TJ Sanders has verified it with prayer hands emojis.
Yep.
And Nick Emenwari has said Showtime and retweeted it. So we've done the big journalism here.
Yes, big J journalism. That is something you learn in journalism school. Two-source everything. And we have two sources, including a primary
source.
Yes,
like
source
that.
Literally TJ Sanders and Nick Emenwari. But Adam Schefter says, and now the Bills have reached agreement with their second-round pick, defensive tackle TJ Sanders, on a 4-year, $10.645 million deal that has $10.073 million of it guaranteed, per agents Robert Bailey and Drew Rosenhaus. So there's two different stories here, Preston Thorne. One, our beloved Gamecocks are getting paid at the NFL level. Give them a round of applause for that. Two, one of them is fully guaranteed.
Yes.
And the other is, I'm not going to do the math right now because A, I'll mess it up, and B, that'll take some time, is like 90+% guaranteed.
Yes, the contract is for 10.6 and 10 of it is guaranteed.
And there's kind of been some reporting out recently about the NFL and their owners not giving out fully guaranteed contracts, specifically to quarterbacks, after truck stop Jimmy Haslam gave Deshaun Watson all the money in the world, fully guaranteed, and skewed the quarterback market completely. And there are some legitimate concerns that an independent arbitrator had when overviewing the case from the NFL Players Association, accused them of collusion. They didn't necessarily come to the conclusion it was collusion, but an organized effort was made to not allow other quarterbacks to get fully guaranteed deals. Now, that still, to me, probably falls within line of collusion.
I would say there's a building in Lawsuit City named Collusion, right?
Yes, there absolutely is.
Collusion Corner or something.
Yeah, it's not the biggest building
But
in
it's
Lawsuit
there.
City, but
there.
it's kind of like the building we're in right now. We're not in the tallest building in Columbia, but we're in one of the taller ones. In the Collusion building in Lawsuit City has some height on it, right?
Yes.
And it really feels like, the effort to not give quarterbacks fully guaranteed deals, and Collusion is the same type of distinguishing you can make with moving at an athletic pace and promptly, right? We are playing semantics here, but the sentiment is still the same. So the fact that Nick Emenwari becoming the first ever player at that draft slot to get a fully guaranteed deal, and then TJ Sanders getting so much of his deal guaranteed, is actually pretty significant when we talk about the changes that are going to have to be made with how the NFL does contracts, given what has come out in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and that was the big thing about Nick slipping, quote unquote, slipping to the second round, is that he wasn't going to be able to, we thought he wasn't going to be able to get that guaranteed money, because that is usually has previously only been reserved for first round guys. But he was only 3 picks out of the first round at 35. And there's a lot of stories from this, but I think you hit it when you first started this. Those second round guys now have leverage.
Yeah.
Why do they have leverage now? Because they're not broke anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to this, when you were getting drafted into the NFL, this was going to be your first official check.
Right.
You were coming from essentially, you might have had a bag man here or there, but you were essentially broke. And so whatever the owners gave you, you just took because you were just excited to be here.
You're hungry.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's not the case anymore. These young people have money. They're coming into these negotiations with like, hey, listen, I am taken care of. I am financially able to put myself in the best position to negotiate against these owners. And what was happening was these second round picks, it wasn't just Nick, but none of them were signed up before this past weekend. And now you're starting to see some of these dominoes fall. But all of these players are financially taken care of, and now they have the wherewithal, and their agents have the leverage to say, hey, no, let's relax. You can hold out for a little while because you are not worried about getting your first major check. They've already had that taken care of. So I think it's actually a bigger story that
It is.
NIL is starting to creep into the NFL now, and those owners are losing a little bit of the leverage that they had previously.
In Sports Talk Radio, we have a thing, can just take you behind the curtain a little bit, called a topic tree, where you have one main topic, and that topic has branches. And that's supposed to help you prepare for shows. It's supposed to help you prepare for different angles and attacking different angles whenever you talk about these certain topics. But this one right here has so many branches to it. We have the local branch, right?
Right.
We have the NIL branch. This is an inadvertent side effect of name, image, and likeness, and now revenue sharing. And now it's a side effect of what is happening with the NFL and the trouble that they're already getting in. The NFLPA president, I believe I got this app push notification this morning.
I believe he resigned either in the midnight hour or very late last night.
At 11:29 last night, Lloyd Howell Jr. resigns as NFLPA executive director, citing distractions his leadership has caused. As my phone went dead as I was reading that, his distractions his leadership has caused in recent weeks, which is definitely not acting within the best interest of those who are in the Players Association. So this is a side effect of that too. This is a side effect of a lot of different things. And another branch of this is the Seattle Seahawks being a real one, right? Not only are they showing appreciation for Nick Emenwari, because Nick Emenwari also has leverage because if he was making money here, they traded up 17 spots to get him. The Seattle Seahawks saw him fall out of the first round, and the first thing they said, grab me the phone, we're going to start calling folks. And they made a trade to go up 17 spots in the draft to be able to get Nick. They gave up other picks to get Nick. And it's a sign of that appreciation. They're making that contract fully guaranteed.
If you're just looking at the topic tree again, what about Gamecock recruiting? These are two players who were recruited, not the most heralded of recruits. They come to the program, are developed, and they're able to go make a lot of money. That's something that Shane and company can go sell. Like, hey, our guys just signed for a lot of money. That can be you too here if you come in and you choose to be developed here at Torian Gray can make that, Trevian Robinson can make that. So this is a really cool situation for them, but congratulations on them for getting paid.
SEC Media Days version of Preston Arrested. That's next. All right. SEC Media Days are over, but the fun still continues from SEC Media Days now that I'm back, because it's time for Preston or Reston, and I have some SEC-themed takes here, and Preston's going to tell us if it's a Preston take or it's one he's going to rest until maybe later, until we see more sample size. We get more evidence. Sometimes that's required. So we'll start with this one. After a year with 0 coach firings, very rare in the SEC, Sam Pittman breaks that streak, and he'll do so before the season ends.
Ooh. This is a great proposition here. Preston.
Oh, okay.
Bobby Petrino's pulling some strings behind the scenes. He is talking to the right people. He's nudging the right folks, maybe leaking bits of information here. I just don't know how Sam feels comfortable with that guy sitting in the co-pilot chair because he's
Lurking.
Yeah, I don't like that. So yeah, I'll roll with that.
Being the Grim Reaper. So now we can see when this happens, right? They play Alabama A&M and Arkansas State to start the season. They go at Ole Miss, and I think that's like Taylor Green is good enough to where they can play spoiler on somebody. So that spoiler might be Ole Miss, so they might win that one early, and they might, if they pull off that upset, and then they win at Memphis, then that puts them at, 4-0 going into hosting Notre Dame. I'll say this right now. That game is Saturday, September 27th, so you can mark the tape on July 18th. What Notre Dame is going to do to them might be illegal in some states. It could be considered abuse. Notre Dame will go in there and probably win by 30-plus points.
Ooh.
Because Notre Dame is going to be really good this year.
Okay.
They bring back a lot. Out of all the teams with quarterback questions in college football, that's the one I'm probably the least concerned about because of all they have coming back on defense. Then they got to go at Tennessee. That one may be ugly, maybe. They host Texas A&M. That one's in October before A&M usually hits their November wall. Then they have Auburn at home, Mississippi State at home, then at LSU, at Texas, and they end with Missouri. That's at least 3 straight losses to end the season. They can beat Mississippi State, but if I'm looking at a game in which might be the straw for Sam Pittman, a loss against Mississippi State, which I think is possible, could be it. We could see on Sunday, November 2nd, that news break.
I think that's very possible. Just going back to what our guy, was it Ty? Ty was yesterday. He was talking. We asked him how excited Arkansas Nation was. What are they? Woo Suey? What did they say?
Woo Pig Suey.
Woo Pig Suey.
WPS.
They were, he just was basically like, eh. And anytime you go into a season feeling like that, bad news.
It's bad news.
Yeah.
It's very bad news. Preston or Reston, we're underestimating Missouri.
In keeping with the theme of the show, Preston. Dude can call plays, man. He can call plays, and they're talented. They do have one major question to answer, and that's at quarterback. Until that question is answered, I can't go fully in, but I wouldn't doubt Eli, unfortunately.
He is a very good offensive mind. Sometimes you got to hand it to him. I don't want to hand it to him.
Right.
Sometimes you have to. But Ahmad Hardy, I think, might be the name that SEC fans are going to get very familiar with because some of those numbers, man, what he did at Louisiana Monroe in a pretty good G5 conference, and with how he runs, his style of run, with what Missouri likes to do, it's hard to look past him. Now, that's a game for South Carolina I see as a coin flip game. But I think the benefit is that you might get them early enough to where they're not completely gelled because they have 21 transfers. They have a ton of transfers, a ton of talented transfers. They had a really good transfer class. But, it takes some time to maybe gel and get to where you want to be as a team. And if you catch them early, then you might be in a position to catch them slipping at home. And I think that's the advantage South Carolina might have. Preston or Reston, Kentucky will find themselves in the cellar, dead last this year.
Reston. I think the style of games that Kentucky plays lends them to just getting somewhere. They won't be good, but I think that conservative type of ball, they won't be absolutely atrocious. Auburn. I'm looking at you.
That's a game Auburn would lose.
Yeah.
Let me listen. This is a game Hugh Freeze would lose.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Auburn. So we'll see. I don't think they'll be good this year, but I'm not sure if they'll be at the bottom.
Preston or Reston, Florida will be a top 5 team in the SEC this year.
Can't see it, man. Can't see it. Listen, Billy Napier, very close to being fired mid-season last year. It was like the Sharks were circling, the Hyenas were there. It was time for it to happen, and then he pulled DJ Lagway out, broke the package on him, breaking case of emergency, and it worked. Top 5 is a long climb though, so I'm a rest that.
It is. For some reason, I love the roster construction. The schedule is fairly the biggest question on that team because it is a monster. And they actually will test themselves out of conference because they got to go at Miami, despite them playing LIU Brooklyn to start the year, which I was like this week old when I learned that they have a football team. 2 hours down, 1 to go. Next hour, the best of SEC Media Days. That's next on the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. At Cato's, they are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, and find financing options that keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. So whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has you covered. They have a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and all the gear that you need for any outdoor project. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's 803-254-3711.
Still working that earlier tie-up, Screaming Eagle Road at McCord's Ferry Road also. DeQuincy Newman Freeway at Sunset Drive also. A report of an accident there. And Operation Southern Slowdown continues in several southern states, just focused on reducing speeding and aggressive driving. That's going on through the 20th. So be careful out there if you would, and especially be careful if you are going to be outside any length of time. We're looking for a high today, 97 with a heat index of 105. Tomorrow, 106 for the heat index, 98 degrees, pretty much the same for Sunday. Sunday, probably have a little more of a chance for an afternoon or evening pop-up storm. 77 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We are here with you, giving you the best of SEC Media Days because it was quite the week in Atlanta. My fever for college football is at an all-time high this offseason. Usually that's when I get super amped. My Phil Steele magazine came in the mail while I was gone, too.
Nice.
So for the Old Man versus Analytics, we'll have more ammo for that throughout the rest of the summer. But we're only a smidge over 40 days away until boot meets leather, and we're playing real football.
Now this is the period once you digest everything that happened at Media Days, you come back, you take another breath or so. Maybe we can start looking at some NFL stuff because there's a little lull in the college football calendar right now, just a slight one. But then it's time to go.
It's that quiet before the storm. Whenever a big storm hits, it gets eerily quiet.
Absolutely.
It might feel eerily quiet before we are fully entrenched to it. We're going to give you some of the best from SEC Media Days right now, from what some of the coaches had to say. And first, I want to address Alabama, because we've heard a lot of stuff about Alabama. It's going to be a popular team picked to win the SEC. I don't know if they're done tallying up all the votes yet to see who the collective media chose to win the SEC, but Alabama is going to be one of those teams that is highly picked. I got them at 4 despite the quarterback concern. It's because I love so much of what else they have on that team. They are just so loaded with talent. But the quarterback's a question mark. And when you look at Alabama, if you get good Ty Simpson, or a Ty Simpson that is just good enough, 10-2, 11-1, an appearance in Atlanta in December for the SEC championship game, is not out of the realm of possibility. And now we're all assuming Ty Simpson is going to be the starter. And I think that's pretty safe because he was a 5-star quarterback. He was expected to play early on, but sat behind Jalen Milroe. He has sat and patiently waited his turn, to his credit.
No shame in that.
No shame in that. But we don't know what he is. The only game that we've ever seen a full sample size from was the disaster at South Florida in 2023, right before they turned their season around. Because Jalen Milroe didn't play in that game. They experimented at quarterback. You saw Ty Simpson and Tyler Buckner, the 2 Tys on the team, take snaps at quarterback. Everything else we've seen from Ty Simpson has been in garbage time, as the French would call it. Jen, I think it is cut number 6 from yesterday. Kalen DeBoer was asked about the QB situation, and he elaborated on what he's got in that quarterback room.
Really got 3 guys that have taken all the snaps, not a majority, but all of them. Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell, and that's really by, age and years of experience is kind of where it starts. We did make it known at the end of the spring that if we played a game at that point, and it really wouldn't have changed even at this point because there's nothing that's happened as far as practicing. Ty Simpson would be the guy that would take the first snaps and be our starter. Challenged all of them at that time that they have to continue to take the strides. They got to continue in their own ways, improve. They've really, I know, worked hard to do that, and excited to see that progress 2 weeks from today. But they have the tools. Ty, throws a catchable ball. He's smart. He's been in college football now. Is going year 4. He's seen the ups and downs. He's got great relationships with the team. He's a leader that way. He's really owned things, I think, on another level. And then, Austin Mack, if you walked in here, the guy's 6'6", 230, 235. He's got a presence about him, and that carries over to how he throws the football. Really took his most meaningful snaps in college this spring, working with the 1s and 2s. And then Keelan Russell, you would never have guessed that he's I guess a lot of guys would be graduating from high school here about a month ago. Really a high school senior, early enrollee that came in and just learning the system, learning college football, has taken these huge strides in the course of the spring, and now again getting that install over and over again in the summer and going into the fall. I'm confident he's going to make big jumps as well. So those are the 3. Kind of told you if we played today where it would be, but all 3 of them have the potential to do some really big things in our offense. And I think a lot of it has to do with what's around them as well.
Now, he did do the whole coach thing of naming every quarterback there and not being fully committal to who's going to start. I have a really good feeling that is Ty Simpson's job to lose because he has been there for so long. But if I want to summarize that entire quote, Preston, it's they all look the part and act the part.
Period. Here's my issue. And listen, going back to SEC Mike from yesterday, he had Alabama to win the conference. Cool. Then we asked him about the quarterback. He said, I don't know. Kalen DeBoer just said, yeah, out of the spring, Todd Simpson is the guy. His highest thing that he said about him was that he throws a catchable ball. While that is appreciated, that is not going to win you the SEC throwing catchable balls. You're going to have to do a lot more than that and with the way the roster is constructed around him in order for them to win. And I was just kind of, as I was looking at it, last year he had Jalen Milroe. They were solid. They weren't excellent. And I was like, okay, well, what is Kalen DeBoer? And then I was like, oh, yeah, when he was at Washington, he did have Michael Penix Jr. as his successor.
Yep.
The first-round draft pick, the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. When you describe Michael Penix Jr., you're describing a lot more than he throws a catchable ball. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that seems like a lower standard of quarterbacking.
Yeah, and so between Michael Penix Jr. and Jalen Milroe, his success has been based on quarterbacks being excellent, being amazing, being awesome, not being serviceable or throwing a catchable ball. So that's something, and maybe Ty's better than that. I don't know. But that just doesn't, I haven't gotten the vote of confidence that I'm looking for them to be projected to be that good.
Right. And I didn't necessarily get that either. And that's really the big thing. I think that's the thing that will keep Alabama out of the playoff is quarterback play. I can still see them being in the playoff with acceptable quarterback play, but the difference between acceptable and exceptional can be what keeps them from being what I know the fans at Alabama are desperately craving now that Nick Saban is no longer the head coach there. But I think if out of all the teams with quarterback issues, I just, not issues, question marks, right? I look at the teams in the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, just to name a few. The one that I think I would feel the most confident in, despite maybe the smallest sample size of anybody, is Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. And Jen, this is from what, Tuesday? Tuesday's cut list, because he spoke on Monday. Lane Kiffin, cut 38, was asked about maybe some of the differences between Jackson Dart, who he said he had for a couple of years at Ole Miss, and Austin Simmons, who is the presumed starter for them this season.
Yeah, they're very different. I mean, if you look at them how they throw right hand, left hand, that would basically be about everything about them. You know, is everything's that different. So, and that's okay. And Austin's got to make sure he doesn't have to try to beat Jackson. And Jackson wasn't Jackson, the third year Jackson, until he was the third year. So he'll be fine. He's got elite talent, does a really good job. He's maturing. Obviously did a great job when he came in the Georgia game. And so we're excited about it.
Really, he says they're very similar if you just swap the arm. But the thing with Austin Simmons that's interesting, and some of it has nothing to do with football, is the kid got out of high school at 16. He graduated there early. He's only been at Ole Miss for a couple of years. He's going to be graduating soon. He is very ahead in schoolwork. He has basically been there's an article in The Athletic, Preston, that where Lane Kiffin gave a quote where he says, I know this doesn't have the greatest of connotations, but the way he was raised is kind of like Todd Marinovich, who was where his dad was obsessive with making him great, right? Ultimately, that wore on him a little bit, and he failed some monster expectations as a football player. But when you see what he's done, you know, in school, I guess the commitment to building him in that image, he certainly seems like a player who is built to handle, I guess, that type of pressure. And when we look at what he's done actually on the field, we see a lot of garbage time, but we also saw a drive against Georgia that resulted in one of the few touchdowns of that game whenever Jackson Dart had to leave the game early.
Again, I just think we always need to be very careful of assuming that a player can step up and be a guy who was drafted in the first round, or second round. That's just going to be – that's a high bar, because even if Austin Simmons is good, will he be able to drive and conduct the lane train the way that Jackson Dart did? Maybe, but I think that's a high expectation.
Because I went back and watched that drive while I was in Atlanta. Because I was reading that and I said, that's interesting. Is that bring out? I want to see if I could see anything in body language and demeanor that would show player who's never taken meaningful snaps getting into a game against bleeping Georgia, right? The two-time national champion in the last 3 years. And there were some throws that he probably wanted back. They didn't get picked off, but they easily could have been. But there were some plays where he was hitting guys on crossing routes. The timing stuff was there. And that's so much of what Ole Miss does offensively. It's a lot of timing routes. It's a lot of having to be accurate in the intermediate and then stretching teams down the field. I haven't seen him throw a deep ball against a really good opponent, but I did see him work relatively methodically in that Georgia game, and A, not so great weather conditions, and B, being in a tough spot. And it showed me that I think he can play in big-time situations, but what you just alluded to, I think, is the bigger question. Can he do it over the course of a 12-game season? That we can't say with any type of confidence right now.
Yeah, and also, to that point, if there was a coach that I was confident in designing an offensive system to complement a young player, it would be Lane.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
It absolutely is. And then when it comes to Missouri, we might not have, I guess, time to play that one right now because it is definitely a little bit of a longer one. But Eli was talked about, about Bo Prabula. And Bo Prabula also, short sample size king. But when you look at a lot of the Pro Football Focus stuff, it's really good. Like, he's graded out really high. He didn't have to throw the ball down the field because a lot of the times they bring him in short yardage packages because he is a little bit of a bruiser. He could be a bruising type quarterback. Kind of think about what Tim Tebow's role was on that first national championship team he was a part of at Florida, where Chris Leak was taking all the snaps, but whenever it got down to third or fourth and short, Tim Tebow would go in there and help you get that first down or maybe pass the ball to pick up a short yardage clutch situation. Bo Prabula played the Tim Tebow snaps, the freshman Tim Tebow snaps at Penn State. He's now another guy where you've seen it against good competition in short sample sizes, but now is going to be expected to have to carry that through an entire 12-game SEC season.
Just as you were talking, the light went off. This is the young person who left Penn State early.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I'll just connect because I remember the story about a player leaving despite them being in the CFP, despite them being in the playoffs. He entered into the transfer portal, and he's at Missouri now.
Him and Malik Murphy, the two big victims of the transfer portal schedule.
Gotcha. All right, so that it makes a little bit more sense. And again, I not in this situation blaming the young person because he was just going to be sitting behind Drew Allar again.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to do that. So okay, I got it. Just trying to connect some dots here.
And he certainly feels like he's good enough. He was recruited high enough out of high school to be that type of guy. You only get so much time in college. And even that's the one thing about James Franklin that I did like is that he didn't necessarily dump all over the kid and go into a whole kids these days rant whenever asked about Bo Prabula leaving. I think he, rightfully so, attributed that to a poorly scheduled transfer portal window. And that's been my big beef because it happened with Malik Murphy at Texas when we had a 4-team college football playoff. But that's a guy that we're probably going to see a whole lot of next year. We're going to continue with the best of SEC media days, including, we heard from Lane Kiffin talking about Austin Simmons, but he did maybe have one of the funnier moments of the week when he was asked about Hugh Freeze's golf game. It was Lane being Lane, and that's next here on the early game.
You know, they say perfection is a journey. Well, our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We did some renovations and some bathrooms, and we got a few new cabinets and needed some countertops. So where did we go? We went to Chapin, just outside of Columbia, and had a fantastic experience from customer idea to fabrication to installation. Every step of the process was absolutely meticulous. Their showroom is amazing. You have to check that out. They have an outdoor showroom and showing you things you can do outside, some different hardscapes, outdoor kitchens, entertainment spaces. They can help you in so many ways out there. But I encourage you, if you're looking to do anything in the inside of your house, get any countertops for your kitchen or bath, do be sure to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They're family owned and operated. Love that. Just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Visit them online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Still working that earlier tie-up, Screaming Eagle Road at McCord's Ferry, also to Quincy Newman Freeway at Sunset Boulevard. And aside from that, traffic flow fairly decent this morning, but yep, we're looking for some hot conditions. 97 with a heat index of 105 today, 97, 98 tomorrow and Sunday, heat index around 106. Chance for a pop-up shower, of course, comes into play each and every afternoon, a little more likely on Sunday, but it's already warming up to 79, but the heat index is already 83. 107.5 The Game.
Oh, man. The mayhem on the message boards last week really came from Auburn. We had a lot of fun with that because Auburn fans aren't a fan of Hugh Freeze's golfing.
Listen, I was here first, and I'm going to state the claim, and this is the thing that's going to take the show to the rocket ship. They're going to look back and say the early game was here first on this take. But yes.
But the early game.
Yes. Auburn, Hugh Freeze, you put yourself in a tough spot here because if you were winning, nobody would say anything about this. But you're not. And so, therefore, there could be some issues here.
There could be. And one of my favorite things from SEC Media Days was Lane Kiffin being asked about his trolling of Hugh Freeze's golf game. And I think he gave the answer that is the most quintessential Lane Kiffin.
Well, someone said that coming in here to me. I like Coach Freeze, so I think they think that was something to do with, like, I was fishing, it was golfing. That really wasn't that. I have a thing with him going back a few years ago when he, like, posted a picture, like, in response to me of, like, some 2-pound bass or something like that. So I've kind of always posted bigger fish pictures back towards him, so that had nothing to do with his golf game, which sounds like he's doing amazing at that. So that's great for him.
Sounds like he's doing great at that. That's amazing for him, is one of my favorite quotes.
Good for him.
From the entire thing. It sounds like he's doing just great. He made sure to let people know he's still noticing how good he is because he's getting those reps in.
People are seeing things. In typical Lane fashion, he posted something on Twitter, then he just said, hey, that's not what I did. But then he said, yeah, maybe I did kind of do that, but hey, maybe not. And so I don't know whether he's like, is he doing it? Is the bit over? Is it a bit? Is it not bit? I don't know. But yes, Lane did come out and show out. And as I'm looking at this, I guess the only person, Eli did his thing, Lane did his thing. On my top list of interesting SEC coaches, Shane kind of didn't deliver this year. I wanted something from him. He's kind of more businesslike this year. Yeah. And that was an interesting approach.
The thing with Lane that is so funny is the inability to tell if it's a bit or not. And if we are doing rule book of the bit, if you can blur the line between knowing if you're serious or you're making a jab, then you have mastered this.
Yes.
Then you're leaving it up to interpretation. That last little bit right there where he kind of sounds like he's great at it. That's amazing for him.
I love that for him.
Right, yeah, I love that for him. Right in line of, I don't know if you're being serious or if this is part of the whole shtick. And I think that's what makes Lane Kiffin more of the more interesting guys in this league outside of just the offensive mind on the football side of things.
Yeah, he as I said, he just definitely just tossed it out there. You make your interpretation what you will. There's always plausible deniability. You could always say, no, I didn't mean that. Wink, wink. You know, like there's always seems to be like a little wink and a nod behind everything that Lane says.
Winks, nudges, anything like that. Mm-hmm. But that got message boards pretty crazy. In terms of the best of SEC Media Days, which is kind of the theme for today's show. On today's cut list, Jen, Eli Drinkitz, he had a lot of good clips, right? He was very, very clippable whenever he was at the podium because I feel like you actually get a lot. But one of my favorite things that he was asked about, he talked about the lack of national respect. This is cut 8 on today's list. And it showed a little bit of juice from Drinkitz.
Yeah, I kind of addressed this earlier with SEC this morning. You know, if you get caught up, Coach Saban calls it rat poison. I think it's rat poison either way. Praise and blame are both the same. You really can't care about it either way. We have a something to prove mindset. There's all of us, whether you're talking about our coaching staff or players, we all have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. But at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, 2-minute drive, that's not what you think about. You think about your trust and belief in each other. You think about doing your job at a higher level. So you can use it as temporary motivation, but in the key key moments, it's really more about your belief in each other, and that really is what drives us. It's our belief in our brotherhood. It's our belief in our Elite Edge program. It's our belief in our always compete mentality. It's the development of trust and respect that we have with each other. It's having fun while we're doing this that really drives us in our success. And so other people's opinions, somebody asked me what the difference was over my 5 years being here. In the first couple of years, I really cared what y'all thought about me. Now I really don't. I don't care. I'm here to represent my family, my wife and my 4 beautiful daughters. I'm here to represent the University of Missouri and make our football team proud. And outside of that, I really don't care what anybody else thinks.
I love the end is the best part right there, as now he is maybe not embraced full villain, but I'm secure enough in my job now. I do not care what any of you guys think about me, even if we want to call him Dorkwitz, which he still is. I think that is a permanent nickname. Mm-hmm. Even if we can sit here and say he has the most punchable face in the SEC, it doesn't matter to him because he's now kind of really bought into who he is as a coach, and I can respect that.
Yeah, he's risen to a level where he feels as if he's confident in what he's doing. He doesn't need outside validation. So he says, we'll see. Right. We'll see how the season goes.
A lot of people say that.
Right.
And they get very bothered whenever stuff gets said that they don't necessarily care.
Right. Just like all the coaches say they don't listen to the outside noise and then they come and address outside noise, right? So we'll see. I hear you. It sounds great. And it feels authentic and it feels true to what he believes in what we said. But we'll see how that goes.
You know what that coaching thing kind of reminds me of? Like when I was a kid, Preston Thorne, and me and my 2 younger siblings would stay at my dad's for a weekend or whatever, and he would make dinner, and we are saying the blessing before we eat. And I'm the oldest. I'm number 2 of 4. My sister's a lot older, so she's out of the house. But I got 2 younger siblings. And I'm 6 years older than the youngest, 3 years older than the middle one. And my younger sister would, while my dad is saying the prayer, is looking up to see who has their eyes closed. And my brother, classic troll, he was born to troll. Him and Lane Kiffin are birds of a feather. Would always just look her dead in the eyes and make dead eye contact. And as soon as my dad would get done, Dad, Lucas wasn't having his eyes closed, and he'd go, "How do you know?"
Classic game.
And then we get her, and she'd get so mad. She was like 6 years old. She'd get so mad because then we're all then we're laughing, and now we're picking on her a little bit. But that's the coaches with this. We don't listen to the outside noise. Me and my team, we don't listen to the outside noise. We're only focused what's in this room right now. Start of a press conference talking about the outside noise.
We don't listen to the outside noise, but we do have a chip on our shoulder. Where's that chip from? I don't know. It's just there. Could it be from the outside noise?
The outside noise. How do you know what the outside noise is? I thought you weren't paying any attention to it.
Well, like I said, we'll see. It is interesting to hear him take this sort of tact of saying, I'm going to continue what he's doing. And hopefully we get more interesting clips from him, because I think what a lot of the coaches, why coaching has become rather boring and vanilla, is because everybody's trying to fit into a mold. So maybe that'll lend us to some more cool clips.
And we just had a call to remind us that anybody who has to say they don't care,
well,
they probably do care a whole bunch.
They probably care a whole lot more than they would lead on.
Because usually you don't articulate that.
There's that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad. Don't put it in the papers that I was mad. Whatever you do, don't put it in the papers that I got mad about this. And that's one of my favorite coaching, speaking tropes. Happens every year. Every single year. But one person who does not fit into a mold, my man Alan Cole, right? He formerly of Gamecock Scoop. He was at SEC Media Days as a part of the Associated Press, and he covered everybody. He got a great lay of the land this week at SEC Media Days. We'll talk to him when the early game continues.
In the cleanup stages, Screaming Eagle Road at McCord's Ferry Road and the Quincy Newman Freeway at Sunset Drive. Also, a report of an accident, and we've been talking about the heat all morning long. 97 for today, heat index of 105. Be 98, 97 on Saturday and Sunday, heat index somewhere in the vicinity of 106. The most likely chances for maybe an afternoon pop-up thunderstorm on Sunday, not ruling one out for today. But I'll tell you what, it is already starting to warm up. 79 with the heat index of 83 currently on 107.5 The Game.
All right, it's time to phone a friend on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. My man, Alan Cole, who was there for the Associated Press this weekend, covering a lot of teams in the SEC. Friend of the show, friend of the station, joins us now. Alan, good morning. Have you recovered from the mania that is SEC Media Days yet?
You know, I don't know if there's a way to recover from 4 days of that, but here we are, and now we're, 6 weeks away from football?
Oh, yeah. We're persevering. I guess if that's counting, I'm trying to count the weeks here, but we're almost to Iowa State, Kansas State, which is somehow being played in Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Naturally, the two biggest brands for college football to go to Ireland, Iowa State and Kansas State.
When I think Ireland-friendly college football teams, exactly who I think of. Iowa State and Kansas State.
Hey, man, they just wanted to send them two middle-of-the-road, solid 8 to 9 win programs. Just watch average football. This is going to be great football.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's better than, I guess, watching last year's Florida State team.
This is true.
Which now, knowing what we know about that Florida State team, might be considered an act of international aggression. So that probably you get yourself in hot water politically by sending that team over to Ireland. But in the SEC, Alan, is there anything this week that you feel like you learned in terms of getting clarity on a couple of situations, or maybe a team that you weren't as high on going into SEC Media Days that you left feeling better about?
I don't know about maybe different, better, just because I think all of this is, to some extent, we talked about this, Elijah, propaganda and coaches kind of telling you what they want you to hear. But I was kind of impressed with Oklahoma, which that sounds kind of weird coming off a 6 and 7 year, but I think the John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle thing is going to work. I mean, we've seen a lot of teams bring, quarterback offensive coordinator combinations out of the portal. Jim Nagy is a very interesting hire for a front office. Just take the guy from the Senior Bowl to kind of run your player personnel department. Venables talked about that a little bit. So I think it kind of, maybe changed my perception of Oklahoma a little bit. Yeah, I guess I'd go with that.
And then in terms of, I think one of my biggest takes that I have here, Alan, things of a team that I became more impressed with now that we're away from Media Days is Florida. I voted them 5th because I love the roster construct. I know that one might not age as well because the schedule is so hard. But am I crazy for thinking that this is a breakout season for Billy Napier in Florida?
No, not at all. I mean, I was looking at it on Wednesday. They were 6-1 in the game C.J. Lagway started down the stretch last year. You had a couple upset wins there over LSU and Ole Miss. And really, I think you got it right there. The rest of the roster is better. They've had, one really good recruiting classes and 2 really good retention of those recruiting classes despite not winning as much. I think someone actually asked Napier about that directly. So, in theory, yeah, the rest of that roster is put together around a quarterback who I think we would all agree is the best one Napier's had there in his 4 years.
And then, got one?
No, go ahead. Continue, I'm coming back to your list here in a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Preston has critiqued my ballot from this week. But a lot of teams that I think, when I went to Media Days this year, Alan, I like the talent at the quarterback position for a lot of teams. But there's question marks because a lot of them are inexperienced. A lot of them are small sample size warriors here. So when I reel off the list of Missouri, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, the quarterback situation you feel the best about is?
Georgia, only because of the four you mentioned there. Gunnar Stockton has played the most. Gunnar Stockton played in an SEC championship game. He played in the college football playoff game. I know they didn't win that playoff game, but you kind of it's not coming in blind for him this year, whereas you look at Austin Simmons, who pretty much just played in garbage time last year at Ole Miss, or a Ty Simpson, kind of a similar deal, and then Missouri hasn't even named a starter yet. So I'll say Gunnar Stockton in Georgia of those four as the leader in the clubhouse.
And when it comes to another, like one of the schools I feel like have coaches fighting for their lives too. I mean, we did a segment, it's called Preston or Reston earlier. I asked Preston, Sam Pittman, does he make it through the year? Is he the guy that breaks the SEC firing cycle? Because we went into an SEC Media Days this year where all the coaches who were coaching last year and speaking at last year's Media Days were there this year. I think Sam Pittman's the one that finally goes because I have a feeling Arkansas just doesn't have enough around Talon Green to be able to save that man's job.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. I mean, even last year with Talon Green, that was a 6-6 regular season. I don't think they're quite as good on the defensive side of the ball this year. And it kind of just feels like he's been teetering for 2 or 3 years now, right? Since they kind of peaked in 2022, the first half of that year. So, yeah, I could see that finally happening after this year.
And you covered Auburn a lot this week as well. That's obviously a huge year for Hugh Freeze trying to prove that he can win at Auburn. And I love the pieces they have around Jackson Arnold. I just have one issue. I don't love Jackson Arnold. And for a team that lost a lot of close games last year because of an inability to protect the ball and have a quarterback that played well under pressure, they got a quarterback to fill that spot who turned the ball over a lot and didn't play very well under pressure.
Yeah, I think you and I actually talked about this on Tuesday, but that is a fascinating kind of either match made in heaven or hell sort of thing where just, Auburn was I think they were 119th last year in turnovers. You bring in a quarterback who pretty much got benched for turnovers at Oklahoma. I guess if I have a little bit of hope for that, if you're looking for optimism as an Auburn fan, it's that situation at Oklahoma was so bad last year. You fired your OC mid-year. I remember at one point, or I think it was the way they played South Carolina, their top 5 wide receivers were all out injured. So if you look at Auburn, they've got, their leading receiver from last year back. They portaled Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech. So maybe it goes better for Arnold with, some actual wide receivers and some OC continuity. But you're right. It's kind of a weird mix. A guy who's had such problems with turnovers and Auburn losing. I mean, they're 2-6 in one-score games under Hugh Freeze, and that's mostly been a turnover problem.
All right, Alan. Elijah had South Carolina ranked number 7 on his preseason list. Is that overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
I think that's probably about right. I think there's the ceiling for that's way higher just because Lenore Sellers and you feel like you're kind of in every game you have him, obviously, but there's a lot to replace on that defense. As you guys know, there's still a lot of questions there, and until Rasul Faison is actually cleared, I don't know about your running game, and you're going to need a running game just to kind of play off Lenore Sellers and do the zone read stuff that you want to do. So I think that's about right for now.
And for the SEC championship game, who's playing in Atlanta in December and who's winning said game?
Ooh, put me on the spot right here. I'm going to say, I'm trying to remember what I put on my ballot. I'm going to put Texas there against, I think I'll just stick with the rematch, Texas-Georgia, but I think Texas wins it this time.
Got the exact same thing. We have confirmed with each other as sources that we will get another Texas-Georgia SEC championship game, but this time maybe being a little different. Alan Cole. Alan, thank you so much. At Alan__Cole on Twitter. Follow his work. Does a fantastic job. Had a lot of good work at SEC Media Days this week. Alan, great job in Atlanta. Look forward to getting you on this program soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
Alan's a winner. And in the next segment, out of all the names and numbers we have thrown around in this 3-hour program, we will give our winners to conclude Friday's early game. If tax issues are burdening you and keeping you up at night, we are here to provide you a solution. And that solution comes in the form of our friends over at Ecton Law Firm. Look, don't let those stresses taxes can give you bother you anymore. They can be taken care of by the Ecton Law Firm. You can set up a consultation today for free at 803-771-9800. They have a local team that is here to resolve your income or business tax issues for good, because at the Ecton Law Firm, they get it. And they understand that the challenges that you in your business face, and even the unique challenges that you might be having that you think might just be unique to you, they've seen it before, right? And that's why John Ecton and his team are perfectly qualified to offer you the peace of mind that you deserve. Again, 803-771-9800, or you can visit EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. It's time to give out winners. Who are winners of today's show? And I've got a few ways that I want to go with this. But Preston, lead us off. Who's your winner for today's show?
Show me the money!
Yes.
We have two of them. Our guys, hometown, signing fully guaranteed contracts, mostly. Nick and Warrior, 4 years, $11 million, fully guaranteed.
100%.
100% guaranteed. First time for somebody who's slotted as the 35th pick. Congratulations to you. You've done us proud. Also, TJ Sanders, who's not fully guaranteed, but he has signed a 4-year, $10.6 million, 10 of that. If you had to pick which part you wanted guaranteed, you want the 10 and not the 0.6, right? So
I want the amount of non-guaranteed money to be less than $1 million.
Yeah, so he's done well. So congratulations to both of them. Those are my two major winners. And not only winners for themselves, winners for the university.
Yep.
Torian Gray won. T-Rob won. Shane won. A lot of folks are winning with them being signed here.
Yeah, and future NFL draftees that are second-round draft picks no longer have to sweat when they fall out of the first round that they can't get that fully guaranteed deal because precedent has now been set.
One. Future second-rounders, you won.
Yes, exactly. NFL players, you have won because now there's a little bit of a public pressure on the NFL and the owners to start fully guaranteeing some of the contracts because of, I never thought Pablo Torre and Mike Florio would end up having this much of an impact with reporting. But with the reporting they did on the collusion case between the NFL and the NFLPA by an independent arbitrator, that opening that up and making that public and kind of showing some of the steps that NFL owners took to prevent further fully guaranteed contracts for the quarterback position, like uncovering text messages between Dean Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, and Michael Bidwell, the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, of them saying, or Spanos telling Bidwell, hey, good job on the Kyler Murray contract. Thank you for not making that fully guaranteed. We're about to be in the same boat with Herbert. You did us a real solid.
Yeah, and again, we will spend some more time on this,
yes.
But the idea that the president of your union is effectively working against you, it may not be criminal, but it says it's close to criminal as he can get.
It's criminal or it's unethical.
It's wildly unethical.
Yes, or it's being a jerk. I mean, there's three things it can be, and I don't think any of those three things are good.
Yeah, so shout out to Nick, shout out to TJ. You're in a good spot right now.
All right, my winner for today.
I think I know where this is going, and this may be a first. So
I know
I'm listening.
This is going to be blasphemous, and I apologize to Gamecock Nation in advance, but it's Eli Drinkitz. It's the Friday of SEC after SEC Media Days. We reflected a lot about what was said. We joke all the time about the coach speak that we are spoon-fed on a day-to-day basis at whatever city is hosting the event, and we crave for coaches to be authentic. We crave to get what they truly think about their teams. We have been thirsting and starving for somebody who gives you something. And the one man to do it is arguably the biggest villain in Gamecock football, and that's Missouri head coach Eli Drinkitz.
Yeah, I felt like that's how this was going. As we was doing the rundown, as we're looking at the rundown, we're seeing him pop up in a positive light. He's actually saying things that are making sense. We agree with him on several instances. It's a tough to do, but you know what? We pride ourselves on being honest.
Yep.
And if you win, you won. That's just what it is.
Yeah, scoreboard's not lying right now. And he's the only coach that really committed to saying, yeah, we should play 9 games in the SEC.
Also, he said the quiet part out loud. The reason why coaches do not want to play 9 games is for, what did he say, coaching preservation? Was that his actual words?
Yes, coaching preservation, because a lot of coaches, Mark Stoops, are afraid to play multiple tough out-of-conference games because they want to keep that streak of bowl seasons or get that bonus that you get when you win 7 games. And if you can schedule, Eastern Kentucky, Murray State, Southern Miss, then you at least have 3 free spaces on the bingo card. And then you really only have to win maybe 3 SEC games in your Louisville game, and then bam, there you go. There's 7 wins right there.
As you said that, you know what? Who else might be a winner? Who I would have never suspected actually had a football program? Long Island
LIU Brooklyn.
LIU Brooklyn.
Everybody right now, raise your hand if you knew that they had a football team before this week.
Congratulations to you.
My hand is down because I had no idea. Fantastic job this week. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. It was a busy SEC Media Days week. We'll be with you again Monday, 6 a.m. See you then. If you have a leak, you should let Midstate Roofing take a peek because for nearly 30 years, it's a long time. That's the entire time that I've been alive. Midstate has continued to be a proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it doesn't matter if the building is a high-rise or hospital or if the job is manufacturing to industrial. Midstate Roofing designs and installs those bonded